Sure.
This is Lisa Steinberg from Starry Constellation Magazine. I'm joined this afternoon by Sweet Magnolia star Carson Rowland. Pleasure to have you this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. These are always so fun. I love talking about this show. So thanks so much for having me on.
Again, a pleasure and a wonderful opportunity to talk to you here about season four. I always love the Sweet Magnolia verse because it's so comforting and like the spirit of community just kind of envelops you when you watch. Um,
Absolutely.
and it's kind of like you feel connected to the characters as much as like every character is kind of connected to everyone else in Serenity at some in some fashion.
Yeah, and I think that goes hand in hand with the brilliance of the writing. This is really a thematically driven show and a really character driven show. And the fact that you can see yourself in all these characters, I think, is what makes the show really resonate with a lot of people, and I think that attributes dramatically to the success. So it's so great to hear that.
Yeah, I actually grew up in Georgia and I
Oh
lived in
yeah,
Florida. And I went to school at Florida State University, so I had, like the little town, little
go Knowles!
yeah, yeah.
My mom went to FSU, and my dad went to UF. So we're a little bit of a rivaled household.
Yeah.
But that's awesome.
I talked to Logan and he had a whole bunch of UF gear behind him and I was like, "Bro."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He is awesome. He's the biggest, probably the biggest Gator fan I've ever met. And my wife also went to UF. So I definitely go to more of the Gator route, but I respect the Knowles.
Okay, okay. We're good. We're good then.
We're good. We're cool. We're cool.
Well, we talk about this incredible writing and wonderful team behind the series Sweet Magnolias. What is it that you feel like continues to really impress you about the team, whether it's, through the production, the writing, of course, the incredible different directors that we get to see over the season as well.
Yeah, I think what really just like is so amazing is that, it's so rare that you get to work with the same people for this amount of time. We first started shooting in 2019, which feels so long ago, and to kind of grow. I mean, I really, me, Logan, Anna really grew up on this show, right? I mean, I got married during the show, I had a kid during the show, and so this whole community, the Sweet Magnolias community, from the crews, the directors, it's really just it grows on itself, and I'm so honored to be a part of something that's so long running, and really, I mean, how the writers continue to deliver every season, how the directors do, and they so many people on that show have become mentors to me, whether it's Cheryl, whether it's Norman Buckley, who's the executive producer and director of a lot of the episodes. I mean, he's really, to just single him out. I mean, just such an inspiration. It's so brilliant, and to be able to work with people like him is such a blessing. And um really, and that is just is first and foremost the thing that stands out to me is just how lucky I am to work with these incredible people, and to grow, right? I mean, I can see my maturity as a person and as an actor, as a creative throughout the show. And that's due to all the people that I've worked around through these, throughout these four seasons. So
I was just I'm thinking like, so much of that great like spirit and love and just like the energy of Sweet Magnolias, like the verse of it, like the TV, verse of it like mirrors so much of you all together behind the lens just as much. And then, like I said, it has that great reflection that we get to see while we watch together, whether you're watching, by yourself or you're watching with your family or, whatever age you are. Like you said, you can see yourself in a character, see a
yeah,
family
yeah.
member somewhere and that's why I feel like the Sweet Magnolia verse kind of like connects us all in a way in that regard.
It totally does, and it's to like the writer's credit. I mean, we tackle topics that are universal, whether like in the first season, divorce, and for my character personally, the that feeling post high school, during high school, what am I going to do with my life, and that has been Ty's story is figuring out who am I? Who am I in this world? Where do I fit in? And that is such a universal topic. I know throughout the filming of these four seasons like that I've been in that, and to able and be able and using my personal experiences to kind of, dictate the performance in a way. Um, but there's so many universal topics that we discuss and and that the writers so brilliantly kind of maneuver and that's yeah, I mean, to your point, right? I mean, I really hope that people can see themselves in all of these characters, and because that's the story that we're really trying to tell.
I have to say and compliment you on your performance, your portrayal over these four seasons of watching Ty grow and mature, like we're talking about,
Yeah, thank you
because
so much.
you know he had so much that he was carrying with him while he was in high school and growing and going through all of his struggles, whether it was through like sports or family or figuring out his like identity and love, like typical it's like a typical reflection of someone that we do see from the high school and of course everybody like the resonating reflections again that we get to witness as we get to watch your character and again I want to just kind of compliment you on the wonderful growth that we've gotten to see and how this beautiful like maturity of how he handles himself and how he handles his family and the way that he has become to balance everything that he struggles with or everything that he holds and carries. You've done just an excellent job with
Thank
that.
you so much. That really means a lot. And I mean, in my personal life too, I try to emulate Ty. I mean, he has at least when I first got the scripts from season one, and breaking down who is this guy, and I started writing down a priority list, and from my point of view, breaking down this character is that his number one is his family, and that's why the divorce hits him hardest out of all the kids, and it really starts from there, and he's such an amazing value system, and that really kind of guides him through his journey of figuring out who he is. And I think in season four we really he really gets the sense, okay, I kind of know who I am, and all of these things kind of follow with that, right? Relationships, his career, and I think there's a real sense of maturity that comes from Ty this season, and he steps up and becomes kind of the man of the house, which we see inklings of in season one, season two, and season three. But I think he really comes into his own this season, and the things around him start coming to him because of his realization, and of course, knowing who you are is a constant journey, right? Nobody knows who they are, and I think it's our job as humans to constantly figure out who am I, and actually it's funny because I recently reconnected with this old mentor who mentored me in business and in relationships in 2020. And so throughout that process we did this, I'm trying to remember the name, but it's a personality test. And like I said, I recently reconnected with him a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about this personality test. I'm like, I could go back and look at that. And I searched on my email, I dug, and I found it from 5 years ago at this point. And I read the results, and it's a really in-depth test, and that person who took that test is not me today, by a long shot. And I think that's really amazing. And that's kind of, it's part of the human journey, the is that growth, and it was pretty amazing to look back and say, oh, this is what myself valued in 2020. And now looking back and looking at who I am now, I mean, it's amazing the growth, and I hope it's all positive. But there's definitely just such a maturity, from my point of view, and I think that's what we're seeing with Ty. Really, I mean, for this season, to tease a bit, there's a time jump in between seasons. The first three seasons, it all happened around a year, and now we jump a year into the future, and so I really see Ty's growth between seasons one through three and four. I think he is, in some aspects, a different, more well-rounded individual, and he's becoming an adult, And I think that was really fun this season um, to see his growth. And as an actor and as a creative, it's my job to analyze that growth and say, okay, we were here, but now we're over here, and what does that mean? And so that was a blast. And I think I think this season, I'm just going to say this season's my favorite, and I really loved playing Ty this season, especially.
Well, speaking of journeys and growth, we've gotten to see that's also through the relationship between Annie and Ty's character as well. This season, there's a little bit of the DTR connecting these two together, not to spoil anything. But what is it that you feel like kind of continues to really strengthen their relationship, but also maybe this season might, continue to also test it because they've always, been like, will they, won't they? There's always been that tug,
Yeah.
but there's a whole other type of tug this season that we'll get to.
100%. Absolutely. And I'm so happy. I love this storyline. I'm such a like a Jim and Pam slow burn type person. And that's actually season one. I was talking to Cheryl and we were like, so what's going on here when we were breaking down the initial relationship between Ty and Annie. And I was like, is this like like Jim and Pam? And she's like, yes, absolutely, absolutely. And so to see that finally come to fruition is so, so exciting. But yeah, like you were saying, there's strengths and there are some hiccups, right? And that's the same that happens in any relationship, no matter how perfect the two are made for each other, right? And I think, those difficulties and those hiccups and are a part, yeah, like I said, a part of every new relationship, but they help strengthen the current one. And so through all those struggles, I think, Ty and Annie come out stronger throughout the season. So
What I also love about this series is we get to see so many different dynamics through the Townsend family's eye. We get, the younger sister, we get the two brothers and their relationship and the struggles and things that go on between the two of them. But of course, their mother, who's the head of the household, having to take care of everybody, working herself and being a strong female and caring for everyone at the same time. What can you talk a little bit about the Townsend family dynamics that we'll get to see this season and how maybe they either, lean more within each other or, how that kind of what kind of lens we'll get to see this season from them.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so the Townsend families, they go through a lot, and they've been through a lot, and that does not stop this season at all. And in some regards, this is probably the hardest season for them. And the way they navigate that is so brilliant. And this, like we talked about in the beginning, this is a community show, and it represents community, um, and I specifically love my relationship with Logan with Kyle and that I think that relationship is really explored this season and how it's not a older brother younger brother dynamic but a brother dynamic, and I think that one is really highlighted this season that Ty's not just the older brother who's looking after his siblings now. He's a brother and Kyle can really help him. And honestly, that kind of imitates real life a bit because, when Logan and I first started on this show, he still is much younger than me, but age is heightened when you're younger. And so now we've both grown up and really we're like buddies now. There was a bit of an age gap in the beginning, but now it feels like we're friends. And this season was especially fun for him and me because um, I had a buddy, and we were buds, and we were working out together, offset and hanging out, and he just really became like a close friend this season. And he's the man, and he's so talented, and I love the fact that we have so many powerful, strong scenes together, that he gets to kind of hold. He is kind of the strong force in a lot of ways this season while Ty is going through a bunch of things and he kind of sets Ty, on the right path.
Yeah, again, the different connections and relationships, not just, of course, within the Townsend family, but the whole town of Serenity itself, and how kind of community can come together. And I love that theme that we see this season. Kind of community being there for each other. Whether it's a religious community or your town community or your next door neighbor or someone somewhere along the line that has that intersection in your life. And the Townsend family is really a big part of Serenity, of course.
Yeah.
That's where everything happens. A lot of, not everything, but a lot of things happen at like the Townsend house or of course Sullivan's.
Yeah.
Those are the big staples
Yeah.
for Serenity. So,
Yeah. And Maddie really kind of, leads the group, in a lot of ways. And so you're right. I mean, she's at the center and she's trying to balance everything. And it's really, Maddie holding it all up. And obviously she goes through a lot this season and the sense of community around her to help her through that. It's really amazing. It's really powerful.
there are so many strong women who are, of course, at the center of this series. We talk about Maddie, but we're talking about, Joanna, who plays
Yes, yes,
her
yes.
character, who plays your mom, and of course, there's Brooke, and then there's Heather, as well, who really are such a center focus from both, of course, their characters, Data Sue
Yep.
and Maddie and all, and of course, like I'm talking about as well, like they're themselves individually as women and as actresses as well. What have you kind of taken away, or what has really kind of inspired you about working with the women that we get to watch on screen as these strong female leads of the series? At the same time,
Yeah,
are motherly figures, they're working women, they're caretaker.
they're everything, and and both in the show and in real life, and they are they're so amazing. Those three women are incredible, and they've been such an inspiration to me. And every single one of them, the way that they lead a show it's no small feat in every sense of the word. I mean, that there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that, and so to see them lead both on screen and on the set is really amazing. I had a meeting with a casting director a couple weeks ago, and she knew Joe, and we talked for Joe. We talked about Joe for like 15, 20 minutes, just gushing about how amazing she is. And she's just a powerhouse. And you look at, yeah, and Heather and Brooke are the same way. And I really treasure all those scenes I have with them, and just working opposite them, you learn so much about your craft. I mean, Heather and I have always had one scene together, one really meaty scene together every season, and it's always this: Aunt Helen is giving some words of wisdom to Ty, and I hang on to those scenes because I love working with her, and she is just amazing. Everything she's accomplished is so incredible, and what she knows about acting, what she knows about humanity, and how she just they this the behavior on set is just it's so amazing. I mean, I cannot speak highly enough about those three women. They're such inspirations in every aspect, from like a business life, a personal life, family life, to acting.
I just can imagine like soaking up being amongst these women in that environment within the series, and of course again being yourself as an actor as well. And these are long like their careers have been
Yeah.
long. Heather doing Broadway, and Dina
Yes. Yes.
and Joanna having like been in the business again for forever, and Brooke and her longstanding incredible career, and just soaking up their I don't know, I was gonna say like their essence, but just soaking up, like we're
Sure.
talking about, like the great advice, or just kind of like the like they're just like like the
Absolutely.
spirit of it all. Like I say
Yeah.
spirit a lot, but that's really like really what it reflects as much just as well. Like they're just their talent, the spirit,
Everything.
the love, the passion, the craft, all of it really again has that great connection and influence.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many of those scenes mirror real life as well. You have so many scenes where Maddie is imparting some wisdom on Ty, and Helen and Brooke, um and though that happens behind the scenes as well. I've had so many amazing conversations with all three of them just about life, about family and about acting. And so I love to see that, mirrored on screen. It really at some points doesn't even feel like acting, because number one, the writing is so strong, and like we said, like this is a thematically driven series, really, and everything that these women say is grounded in some real truth, and their advice that is universal. I was just reading the scene. There's this one scene, I can't spoil it, but there's this one scene between Helen and Ty, where Ty is making a big life decision, and she says just some profound words, and that are perfect for they're exactly what Ty needs to hear, but there could be exactly what somebody else needs to hear because of their universality, Um, but yes, I cherish working with all three of them. They're so talented and so amazing.
The four season you talked about like working on the show also from like 2019 as well. Like their life has a like their lives obviously are evolving just as much as like your life is becoming a a husband and a father, and but the real elements of the series that kind of like leaks back from the lens where you can feel the resonating of the emotions, you feel the struggles, you understand the perspective, like like I can understand Ty's perspective, I can understand Kyle's perspective, I can understand a perspective from Dana Sue about what her struggles are, and the reality of of these people, there are we're all human at the end of core of things, and that's what
Yeah.
really feels so wonderful and so inviting about this series is that you feel like you've been a part of the town, or you feel like after watching the show that your soul has kind of been like imparted with something and you can carry that with you from watching.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. And I was talking with Norman season one about how he wants to shoot the series. This is when we were shooting the pilot, and if you notice during all the margarita nights, there is a very typical way that they shoot these margarita nights, and it has to do, we call it a swingle, which is a single on two people, but you swing between them, a swingle, and that idea of looking at two people or looking at three people during their conversation of the margarita night is you're the fourth person. That what you said is exactly right. Is this series really tries to put you there, you know, and you're a part of the community, you're a part of the family. You're witnessing them firsthand. What's going on, and from a directorial lens and from a cinematography lens, like that was kind of the whole idea. And I love to see that it's resonating, and really what Norman was trying to do is really exactly hitting home.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be sitting at Sullivan's enjoying that meal and all the beautiful appetizers, or having a drink, or sharing the camaraderie of, of just, being amongst these town people, or having a night out with your friends and, your good girlfriends, and sharing a margarita,
Yeah.
being there
What
for
more
each
could you want?
other, shaking off the stress, like living,
Yeah.
giving each other support. If you could be the fourth girl, like amongst these ladies, that you're like the little invisible shadow person there,
Yeah. Yeah,
as,
exactly.
as well.
Yeah, that was the whole idea. Um, yeah, it's really great, and I love, so like every season kind of has a a theme or a word, I guess, and so like season two was forgiveness, right? So all the season was about forgiveness. Season one was change, and season four we all get into to do our first table read. We're all back together. It's our first table read in person since season one because everything else was in COVID, and so now. We're all seeing each other first time, haven't seen each other in a while, and we're all like, Cheryl, what's the word for this season? And she goes, this season's the espresso season, she calls it. And because so much happens, and really, and I think that what this is what makes this season particularly so fun, as an actor and also as a viewer, because really there's so much going on, so many little plot points and so many little relationships, and it really is it's an espresso season, and we hit all of the big holidays, and behind the lens, right, we had, I think, what, 4 or 5 big parties this season to tease a little bit, and those are big days. They take a week to shoot a party scene that's only like 3 or 4 pages long because you have so many people there, and that just builds on the community of the show. I mean, when you have 20, 15, 20 different principal casts on a set. I mean, that number one, that's really hard to do just to choreograph everything, but it brings so much to the screen because we're all there, all of us, I mean, and including the viewer. And so there was just such a fun season because usually you get, one party scene a season where everyone's there, but we had so many. And I think it really just kind of heightens up and brings up the season as a whole. And it was so much fun to film.
We'll get to see it all here, February 6th coming up. Uh, and I am looking forward to the fan reaction and getting to see what they say about this season and what really stands out for them, just as much as it has for me getting to watch. What would you like to say then to kind of like fans and supporters of not just specifically, of course, Sweet Magnolias, but fans and supporters of your work as well? What would you like to say to them, either about, the series as a whole, or maybe about, like their how much they enjoyed your performance, portrayal and
Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful, really, and I really I have I I never want to lose the feeling of gratitude that I have for just doing what I love, and whether at any kind of project I'm attached, I always through the brute force of it all, through the grunt work of it all, you can lose that, in anything you do, and it gets hard. There are long days sometimes, and really like just to always have that sense of gratitude. I work really hard at, and I'm so thankful for what I do, and you know to leave them with something. I really just hope they're entertained. I mean, we're entertainers at the end of the day, and yes, I really hope all these themes come across like we've talked about before, like in the beginning. This is a very thematically driven show, but I view my role as an actor in a way. Uh, one of my favorite films is Good Morning Vietnam, and for those who have seen it, the whole theme of the film is entertainment is more than meets the eye, right? Because you have Robin Williams um, on the radio entertaining a bunch of troops in Vietnam, right? And he doesn't realize the scope or the power he has until he's fired and he sees all these troops and what they're going through, and he realizes that, oh, some people were tuning in just to forget about what life was like in Vietnam, and I think if we take that theme, to what we do, life is hard, right? And we tackle a lot of the hardships of life in this series, um and all that, it comes from such a just a human perspective, and really what I hope, and most of all, is that people are entertained, that they can take a break from the hardships of life by watching this series and feeling that sense of community. Um, because I think at the end of the day, that's why we're here. We want to put smiles on face. We want to tell strong stories. And I think, I'm really like living the dream in that aspect. And so if I could leave them with one thing, it's just I hope you enjoy it. I hope you're entertained.
every season for me personally just leaves like another, like I said, imprint on my heart. And with the way that you all portray your characters, with the way that we get to see Serenity and feel that small town love and
Yeah.
camaraderie and connection. I talk again about like there's a tether from like each person. Like I feel like there's like this invisible string that really just like goes like all around the town. Like, and maybe like again, it starts from the Townsend family and it goes off to Dana Sue and it goes off to like the neighbor, it goes off to, such and such a person. But there's always someone, there's love and care that's always at the root of each tether. Love, care, support. And I feel like that's also something that we can take away from when we watch the series just as much too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Cheryl and the rest of the writers do such a good job of laying that as the foundation of the show. And I truly believe that's why it's found such an audience, is because when you base a show on that, it really is it's got a strong foundation, and the foundation really is built on, that theme carried by Joe, Heather, and Brooke. But yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right.